And welcome to another Super Dave review, and we're looking today at a very important Masters of the Universe character, Skeletor. Here it is, the Ultimate Skeletor by Super 7. Drum roll, please. So this is the first time me open it. I've had it for several weeks here, but it's the first time me open it as well. Just haven't wanted to open this. Number one, in my stories, I'm still in King Grayskull, and of course love He-Man, got to look at those, but haven't got to him yet, haven't even got to Keldor yet, so haven't even got to King Myro yet, so got to get all that in. But I do want to open my very first Skeletor. This is my very first one. Look at there. Of course, your normal Skeletor Masters of the Universe shipper box by Super 7. And there he is, folks, with that awesome vintage style blister card or packaging. All those accessories. This is Super 7's Ultimate Filmation Skeletor that looks like he did in the 1980s cartoon, which is my preferred look for him, especially the face. Personally, I was never a fan of the vintage Skeletor face. I was never a fan of the Al Carter face. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And I just, you know, not my favorite. I guess, to me, Skeletor should have looked like he did in the 1980s cartoon. And so that's what we have here. Mattel did a version, but this is the one I've got. So we're going to look at him. You can see the packaging, the staff here. They got a cutout just for that Havoc Staff there, which is awesome. And he comes with a lot of neat accessories we're going to look at. There, of course, shows how to exchange his head. He does come with one head, and there he is in that classic, holding the Havoc Staff over his head with that classic laugh pose. And laughing, that evil laugh. And so you get that head in here. So let's break him open. We'll be right back. Here he is out of the package. This is Skeletor, and he is the result of the survived Keldor, who almost died of that acid attack, and now there he is. His face was melted off. He almost died, but thanks to the spirit of Hordak bonding Keldor's being with Demo Man, he became Skeletor, and he became very evil at that point. So let's look at his accessories. First of all, we have this really nice sword that really goes well, I think. I don't think he necessarily used this, to my knowledge, in the 1980s cartoon. I may be wrong on that, but it does match the insignia on his chest plate there perfectly. And that's really neat to notice. And so Lizard Man came with a type of this sword, but it is not the same kind of sword. But this one is really neat, and it does match the insignia on Skeletor's chest piece. There is his battle armor. And so that's a really neat accessory. He does not have a place on his back to put the sword, which is a little bit of a bummer, but that's okay, because you can make do with it there in some way, even by kind of tucking it in there if you need to. All right. Just by the way, it does come with this neat graphic. It's not really a comic in the back like some of the vintage ones used to come with, but it is a neat homage to the comics and a neat artwork. Then on the back, a bio by Skrolos that shows him in his outlined throne, and there's the bio there that it gives. All right, the second thing that Skeletor comes with is his battle axe, which has kind of a crystal ball on the top. Now, this was in the cartoon, and he has looked into that before. This is almost a bluish gray, as you can tell in the camera there and the lighting here in our studio, and that's very close and similar to the one that evil rabbit, I can't remember his name right now, had in one of the first cartoons of the 1980s season 1. Came with him, had a clear crystal ball. This one is kind of that gray color. All right. The next accessory that Skeletor comes with is the Diamond Ray of Disappearance. and it's a really tiny little jewelry box, like a ring would come in, and it has that little diamond in it there. Now again, Lizard Man, who also came with that Skeletor looking sword, came with a Diamond Ray of Disappearance also as a little bonus, and it had a glow in the dark, kind of a frosted color, larger diamond in it, and it also had the ability with a little cutout in the bottom for Skeletor to hold it with his hands. This is a smaller version which he can still hold in his hand when you position it right, but does not have that imprint in the bottom. It is smaller and the diamond is smaller. So you can take your pick of which you kind of like the best. I think I like the new one because even though I like the fact that this glows in the dark, it doesn't really look like it doesn't really look like a diamond to me. But the way they painted that one, it has a little bit more of a shimmer of reminiscing a diamond to me, the way they painted it. So either way, they're really neat items and extras to have. And then finally, as far as weaponry is concerned, you have the Havoc Staff. And this is a very classic, this looks almost identical to the way it looked in the cartoon. And as far as a crystal ball, from my recollection of the cartoon, and I watch it still some on YouTube, he used the back of the skull as more of like that became like a crystal ball, and he'd see things, and of course could shoot from the top of the Havoc Staff. Very important weapon, and also important ornament in Eternia. Finally, as far as an actual accessory that we can cover, is the laughing head. And you can see that it's angled, the face plate is angled a little bit further back, and his mouth is more open, and his expression is more of like a laugh when he threw back his head and would laugh holding that staff over his head, and we'll look at that later. So let's go over to Skeletor's cave, or his throne room, and let's take a closer look at his articulation and him as an action figure. All right, we're back in Skeletor's domain to look at this evil Lord of Destruction himself. There's our action figure. And so one of the things that I have learned from watching some other reviews is Super 7's version. One of the things that's already better in this particular version is that compared to the Mattel Filmation Skeletor, is that under the cowl, or this hood, they actually, back in there underneath his chin and kind of around the edges of his face structure, they actually painted it black. So bravo Super 7 for attention to the detail, instead of it being the same purple color of the hood. Also, this color is a different variant of purple on that Mattel version, and some of the colors just pop a little better in general. And I have this under some special lighting, some different colored lighting, some reds and blues and greens that are shining down on this to make this set look a little bit more menacing and make those reds pop. But we'll turn on some lights later. But let's look at his articulation here first of all. He does not really look up. That's as far as he can go because of the hood here, but that's as far as he can go. Of course, you can do a little bit of with the ab crunch back and get a little bit more of a vertical look that way, but that's about as far as it's going to go. And then you can go down considerable amount there to look down. Again, the hood limits that, and then of course the ab crunch could allow you to look down to get some great poses. So no limitations there. A little bit of pivoting, not much. And of course you can get side to side, but that's going to be limited too, because again this cowl, this hood, rubs and bumps up against his back shoulder muscles as you go back and forth with the restrictions of the body armor there. Again, like with the Super 7 Filmation He-Man, Ultimate He-Man, this is not going to come off. These do not pop off like the Mattel version did, so that you can take off that body armor. It probably can be removed carefully, heating some things up, removing the head, but as it stands right here, you're not going to be able to get that off without carefully peeling that off. It doesn't have the actual area to unbuckle anything. But as far as the rest of his articulation, he has good ratcheted joints, tight joints, go full 360 there. Bicep swivel, single jointed elbow. He's got swivel at the wrist and bend hinged at the wrist. He's got nice detail on those fingernails there painted in. That's nice. And a great range of motion there completely, and they're tight. Same thing on this side, and again the detail to the fingernails. So good job Super 7 on getting nailing some of those things down there. And of course, as we've looked, he's got the ab crunch. Doesn't go far very back, but he can go forward quite a bit. And then he's got swivel at the waist as well. And then he's got those nice ball joints. This one has more of the classical loincloth type hanging part in the front, whereas He-Man had the kind that was like literally connected almost, but this is going back to that, which is fine. He gets almost a full split. Also swivel at the thigh there at the top joint. He's got single jointed knees, and you can get a good seated pose, which we will look at with the throne later. And then he's also got the corrected, from my understanding, because swivel at the shin, the boot cut rather. That swivels too, and you can't see that. It did an excellent job hiding that. Looks nice, but also he has those corrected ankle joints compared to the Club Gray Skull Ultimate Skeletor with Mattel. Super 7 corrected that, so you get up and down. Now, some reviews has been saying you don't have the pivot, but you actually do. You just have to kind of work at it a little bit, but you do have full pivot. You might have to kind of just get it loosened up a little bit, but you do have the ability to pivot those ankles. So you can go forward with those, back with those, and then can pivot those ankles fully just like that. So that's good. So there is his articulation, and just an all-around excellent figure. We've looked at his accessories. Again, with his sword, he can hold his sword in his hand. These joints are pretty tight. You would need to heat a little bit up, or you can, take the chance of bending them a little bit without getting that thumb in the way a little bit. See, that's got such a big handle that it's not as easy to kind of get in. Now, this one stretches out a little bit. Let's try putting it, there you go. We can put it in that hand a little easier, so we can get some good sword poses there. He can get that in his hand, as well as his Havoc Staff, which is definitely a very important accessory, and certainly one of the ones that you saw most in the cartoon. There we go. He can hold his Diamond Ray of Power if you maneuver it just right, his hand, or Diamond Ray of Disappearance. You see, he can hold that fine with no problems. All right, but let's look now at the big reveal, pardon me, and that is the extra head. That's what we really want to see. And there he is with that laughing head. And then getting him in that classic pose. Gonna have to bend that hand back a little bit to get that Havoc Staff. There we go. May have to work on that just a little bit. Getting that the way he wants it there. And get those arms back. There we go. Get him up just a little higher. And there he is, ladies and gentlemen, with that excellent throwback the head and laughing pose. So there it is. You got him. Thank you, Super 7, for including that face. That's just excellent, excellent, excellent. And of course, there he is beside the other face. Again, if you like these videos, please click the like button, subscribe, and even ding that bell there so that you'll be notified when I upload reviews. We've got some more Motu Classic stuff coming. Part 3 is close to being inspired. I've kind of got writer's block, even though I'm following the canon story of the Masters of the Universe, starting with King Grayskull and his adventure. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to set some of the things up. One of the things I will tell you, the things I am working on, is when King Grayskull meets Vina and they fall in love. That's going to be exciting, and looking forward to that part in part 3 of Masters of the Universe, the diorama story. Let's look at some pictures. All right, there is Skeletor giving orders to Cyclops, his techie, his technician, his technical man that creates certain weapons and inventions for Skeletor, and also can help Skeletor see into areas and spy on what He-Man and the others are doing. Looks good on that throne. He's giving him orders. That looks great. I'll get you now, He-Man. Ting. Hey, Skeletor, maybe next time.
Fool, you could have done better with my review.